What's going on, everybody? It's Eli here from TreeFall Studios, and today we're back in a brand new devlog taking a look at tilting tiles. So today we are in episode 2. If you missed episode 1, it came out last week. Be sure to check that out on the channel. That episode actually went back in time and showed you how this game started, what it looked like when the development first started. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about some of the changes from then to now and some of the changes to the game post the announcement trailer. So there have been a few things that have changed. I'm going to show off 1 or 2 new levels in this devlog, and then just mostly go over how we got to here game development wise and how the game looks the way it does. So if you remember in the last episode, there were no textures originally on these towers, and now they're here. I showed in the last episode these brick textures, but in this version you can see much clearly that the lighting has been baked. There's some effects in the lighting. I like this example, and one of the next levels I'm going to show, you can see kind of how as the shadow cuts down the middle of that hole right there, it's different lighting than over to the left where that other shadow cuts, like where you're falling off. And it's basically like the lighting of the actual surfaces are, lighting themselves up in brighter areas and then in darker areas because we're using ambient occlusion. Another couple small things that have changed: the items material has changed just a little bit. It's got a darker blue, like a brighter blue. It's not transparent the way it was in the last video and in the trailer, so the items have changed just a little bit. Another big change that we made is the actual character itself. I have tried to do some sculpting I had shown in the last episode, and the sides, I wanted to bust up the sides of the tile, but that didn't look very good. So what I basically did was almost imagine like an ancient floor tile. I basically just took the cube, the original cube, and went back to that version, and then kind of just pulled the top up and rounded the edges. You can kind of see the edges are rounded as if it was like a tile that would go in the floor. And then on top of that, I basically gave it this weathered sandstone texture in the same red tile set color. So now it kind of looks like a worn floor tile that you would step on that would be busted up in a temple somewhere. So that's the main character model for now. I kind of like it being so simple. This is not shown in any of the trailers so far, and we will be announcing it soon in the new trailer that's going to be dropping this weekend or next week. But there are going to be not complete a bunch of options, but there's going to be ways that you can change up the look of the character. The game is supposed to be really simple, but there are a few things that we'll be showing to where you can switch out the character itself through unlockables and stuff like that. So also another big thing to note, in the original devlog from last week, there was no fog, there was no effects, there was none of these post-processing effects that we've got going on. So this game is really simple on the visuals, but extremely good looking in my opinion. It's got a lot going on. As you can see, we've got this giant fog layer everywhere, and it's one of my favorite looks. It's so simple to achieve, but as these towers are just jutting out of an endless sky, it just looks so good to me. And what we've done to try to break up the color in the background, you can kind of see, there's, varying hues of this brownish gray fog color. And that's because we're running some post-processing effects on top of it. So we're running some lighting effects that are like kind of changing the hue and the light of this entire level. But we're also running some effects to darken the corners. If you can kind of see, if you look into the fog, it's kind of like, the corners and the outsides of this fog area, basically done in the camera post-processing effects, is darkening it up. So it just makes the color not so just one color across the whole screen and looks so bland, and it's just really subtle. You might not even notice it unless you're looking deeply at the background, but stuff like that is really breaking apart the images and setting the scene to the way they look. Another huge effect that I think just really ties this entire thing together is in World 1. we got this new dust particle system, and you can see they're actually like affected by the wind. Like they're not all the same speed. Some of them are like blown up out of the ground, like basically out of the sky, and then caught by the wind and then pulled, to the right or whatever. So there's a varying degree of effects on these particles to try to portray that, wow, we're really high up in the sky. You can tell that because we're jutting out of the fog. We're up on these towers, and the wind is kicking up, and it's kicking these desert dust particles flying through the air. So that's one of the coolest effects, I think, that really ties this whole thing together, between the fog, the post-processing lighting effects, and then these dust particles in the air. It just changes the entire game to me, graphically speaking. A little effect also to mention that I have done since the trailer is I changed the speed and the height of the glowing particles that come out of the bridges. As you can see, they're a whole lot smaller, and they don't last as long. I built a bunch of like 2-story levels where you're taking bridges across, parts of the level that you just were, and you're jumping off of bridges and landing below. And when the particle effects were super long, they're basically, falling all the way down onto the character and making it kind of hard to see, like when you were on the first floor. So I basically shrunk those and made it easier to see for those certain levels. So I kind of like how that looks. So that is a change post launch trailer. And now we're going to show one more level. I'm going to jump ahead and talk about another level in this first world set, and then I'm going to show off some of the visual effects and changes in World 2, which didn't even really get featured in the launch trailer, so all of that's going to be brand new. Alright, just wanted to take a quick look at this level, another level in World 1, just to show you a little bit of what I meant by the lighting. You can kind of see the sandstone orange color reflected in some of the shadows in the middle of the shadow, in both of those holes in the middle and straight ahead in the towers in the middle. I think the lighting overall looks really, really good. This level is also one of my favorite levels. Basically, it shows you how to use your diagonal in different ways. Basically, you realize you cannot fall backwards onto a whirlwind because there's no point of even allowing that, because you would only waste a move and you just end up in the exact same position. So for instance, if you ride up to this tower here, you can see this level actually teaches you this. You drop off. You'll find this out in other levels if you try to go up whirlwinds that you can't come back down on, but then you try to fall off on the right, and then you realize, oh, there's nowhere else to go but back in the whirlwind, and here you are in a cycle forever unless you just want to fall off and die. So basically this shows you that, oh, you can diagonal over whirlwinds. So like, let's say the whirlwind is right there and you're up here, you can diagonal off left or right. Same for up here, you can diagonal off left or right. So yeah, this level, just wanted to briefly show it. This is not one of the cooler levels. They're all really cool, but I really like this design a lot, and the optimal route in this level is pretty cool. But enough of that, let's jump into World 2 so we can take a look at some brand new stuff that has never been shown before in either the trailer or in the Devlog series. Alright, so here we're taking a look at a level in World 2. This is actually stage number 30. I'm going to show you briefly stage number 30 and stage number 36. So World 2 has a whole new theme set. You can see the fog is green, and you have this swampy type fog look. You can see we've still got the same visual effects where we're darkening the edges of the screen. You can realize that this world also has a different texture set on the towers, and in order to match this theme, there's a little bit more of glow in this magical fog world, and you can see that the actual items themselves, same colors, but they actually glow and emit light in this nighttime setting. Also, you can see that the dust particles, there's also a new particle effect in this world. It's completely different than the first world. The first world had flying dust particles carried by wind, and this world you kind of have like these glowing fireflies lighting up the night, growing and shrinking all throughout the world. Much more magical feel, and this world introduces you to teleports. So the first world basically introduces you slowly one by one to each of your movement set options, and then it teaches you how to do whirlwinds, and then it teaches you how to do bridges, and then world 2 introduces teleports. So you can see there's parts of this level that you cannot reach unless you land in the teleport. You will shrink and pop out in the other one. When you pop out of it, it grows back. I love this so much because they spin around and then they go in these cycles, and then all of the little teleport rings catch up to each other, and then they go off again, and then I'm out of moves, can't even show you anything else. Let me restart this level. And when you enter it, or even run over it, if you're diagonaling over it, for instance, it will shrink down, you'll pop into it, your character will shrink out and then grow out into the next teleport zone. So this level is pretty cool. I'm not going to show you the actual solution. I just wanted to show you a little bit about World 2. So we've got new lighting, new texture sets, new fog, new particles, and new movement options. You can see that this level, for instance, combines a couple from the other world, like you have a whirlwind in here plus teleports. And I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead a couple levels and show you an even more complicated set where we start to add in multiple teleports, bridges, and whirlwinds, and by the end of World 2 you have some extremely complicated puzzle routes to tackle yourself, and it's a whole lot of fun. So this is the last level I'm going to show off in this devlog, and this shows the example of having 2 teleports in a single level. As you can see, the colors match up. When you go in this teleport, you'll pop out of that one. When you go in this teleport, you'll pop out of that one. This level also features bridges and different things for you to use on the bridges. Yeah, they start to get extremely complicated. These level designs, once you start mixing in all 3 of the environmental move options between whirlwinds, bridges, and teleports, it starts to get crazy, and then the designs really get crazy depending on, you know, how many special moves you're allowed, allow double moves, allow diagonal moves, all of those types of things. So I hope you guys are looking forward to this game. There is much more coming soon. I have at least 2 more devlogs to show off some of the future stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the looks at the changes in this devlog. So a quick overview, we basically showed off, you know, the new environmental art changes, some of the new feature changes with teleports and such like that, some of the changes from the original build until this build. Basically, this game is going to have a lot of puzzles, a lot of different levels. I've shown off a couple of them here. They're much more difficult than they look. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what you guys think when you get your hands on it, coming really soon. So in the next 2 devlogs, we're going to be showing off some of the bonus features, some more levels in the future, some stuff that's not announced. There will be another trailer coming soon to show off a couple new things for this game, show off some more levels in World 2, show off some of the future levels that have not even been mentioned yet, and there should be 1 or 2 more devlogs after that, and then the game should be releasing on the right schedule. It might get delayed by just a little bit, but currently with their current dev schedule, it's looking like it will be coming out in October like we had planned. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, leave me a comment and saying what your favorite feature is about the new things we showed off in this devlog. Before we go, I got to give a huge shout out to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Their names will be on the screen. I got to give a personal shout out to Carmen Red, LV, and Overhyped Gamer. Thank you guys for what you do for TreeFall Studios on Patreon.com. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you guys.